class in his memory of Jared Orchen, and we are going to learn today to speak about the ongoing story of Joseph. In this Parshat, Vayigash, we read about how Joseph is coming to his best, to his glory. He finally becomes he's becoming the ruler of Egypt. The brothers are coming. And he finally tells them, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? And what the next thing he tells them, don't feel bad for sending me as a slave. Because it was from God. It meant to be that I should be here to help you, to help the world, to save the world from famine, and to help you. Right? Amazing. And he forgave them completely. He didn't hold a grudge against them. You know, in this world of today, everybody goes around with one grudge at least, if not 20 grudges. And he told me this and I'm saying this. Everybody has his stories. Joseph did not hold grudges. Not only did not hold grudges, he paid with good for bad. Right? Unbelievable. And then we read next week's parsha. And Jacob is saying goodbye to his children. And he's blessing every one of the children. And he tells to Judah, you are going to be what?
Lions.
The kings of the Jewish people will come from Judah. Joseph came to his peak. Somebody like Joseph doesn't exist. Joseph is the leader now, right? They are sitting under Joseph's control. And what is he saying? He doesn't tell Joseph, from you will continue leadership, from Judah will continue leadership. Why not from Joseph? And didn't Jacob himself give Joseph a coat, the colorful coat, that represents the mantle of leadership? Isn't the whole fight between the brothers war about who is going to lead them? Who is going to be the leader? Who is going to be the Rebbe? Who is going to be the continuation of Jacob? With the two dreams? Because Joseph is supposed to be the leader. And Joseph finally became the leader. Comes Jacob before he dies and says, Judah is going to be there. From Judah will come out the leaders of the Jewish people. From King David until Moshiach. Right? Moshiach is Moshiach ben David, Moshiach the son, from the house of David. And Rashi says that in Parshat Vayigash, right? Where he speaks and gives the blessing to Judah, Rashi says, from him will come out, Lo Yasur Shevet MeYehuda, will not stop a staff, whatever it means to say, will not stop continuation from Judah, will not stop, and they will continue to be the leaders of the Jewish people forever. Why not Joseph? More than that, in the parsha of this week, Jacob, before he goes down to Egypt, he sends Judah ahead of him. To do what? He sent Judah ahead of them to do what? To establish a yeshiva in Egypt. He sent Judah. Now I'm asking you, if your son is the leader of Egypt and you want to open a yeshiva, would you pick up a phone call and tell Joseph to open a yeshiva? Joseph gave them all Goshen, a city. You're sending a guy who doesn't know the language, doesn't know the mentality, doesn't wear the same clothing, to go to find a building, to sign a contract, to rent it. Send a letter to Joseph and tell him, before I'm coming, if you want me to come, Joseph wanted very much him to come, he should come. Establish a yeshiva. Why send Judah? Why didn't give Joseph to open the yeshiva?
Repentance is higher than righteousness. Okay?
Well, he hadn't had a relationship with Joseph.
But by now he knows Joseph. Then he'll come to Egypt and he will get to know Joseph and he'll tell him. He knows they came back with a story. Joseph is alive and he loves you and he's loyal and he has two children and they're loyal to you, to the Jewish way.
But one question is, how come Joseph never contacted
That's
Jacob.
another question. We'll talk about it in a minute. A whole different question.
20 years.
The answer is like this. The problem with Joseph if the yeshiva would be open to the government is, the moment we will find a new leader, we will change the leadership, the yeshiva will be closed. As long as Joseph is the ruler, the yeshiva will be open. Will be another Egyptian leader, he doesn't have an interest in yeshivas, right?
A new Pharaoh doesn't know Joseph. Yeah. Like that never
Right.
happened before. Yeah.
Separation of church and state.
He sent Judah, he wanted Judah to open an independent yeshiva of separation of church and state, not to be connected to anything. You know, people today say that in certain countries there is a very friendly leaders to the Jews. It's all good and fine until it comes a new leader. You cannot, when you rely on leadership, on kings, you never know what will change. He wanted to open a yeshiva that shall not be dependent on anybody. That's why he chose Judah. Judah showed self-sacrifice. Judah was ready to stay as a slave of Joseph, of the ruler of Egypt, just to save Benjamin. Benjamin should go home. He was ready to give his life for a Jewish boy, for another Jewish boy. To establish a yeshiva, you need a guy who has it. If you are not ready to give your life for the project, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. He said Judah was ready to die basically for his brother. You go open a yeshiva down. Because Jacob, when he went down to Egypt, he paved the way how Jews are going to live in exile. How exile is going to look for the next 4,000 years. That he says you cannot be dependent on any government and any governor. You need one Meshuggah, one Jew is ready to go all the way. How and Judah's family continued this attitude of self-sacrifice later generation. Will we see in later generation that Judah's family was ready to do it too? To give their life for Judaism? Huh?
No, wrong
Maccabees are
tribe.
from the tribe of the Levites.
Yeah.
David, obviously.
David, but before David. We'll come to David in a minute. Before David. Who was in the tribe of Judah that was ready, not just ready, did something heroic. Nachshon ben Aminadab. Who was Nachshon? It's not written in the text. The Talmud tells us that Nachshon, when God told Moses, they were standing in front of the Sea of Reed, coming out from Egypt. The Jews are complaining, God says, tell Moses, tell them to move on, move forward, there is water, move forward. But the Medrash says, nobody wanted to move, there was water, what move forward? Then there was one Jew with the name Nachshon, from the tribe of Judah, who jumped into the water. Hashem says, Moses says to go, we're going. Jumped into the water, he almost drowned, and only then the water, the sea split. If not for Nachshon, we would still be waiting there until today. Everybody was waiting with a thought like this. No, when the water, well, it's going to be dry, I'm going to, when we make sure it's dry and it's not even muddy, I'm going to go in. Nachshon was on the tribe of Judah. You see it's in the blood, it's in the genes. They were ready to go all the way. And then generations later, it was David. How David became David? How he became known? What was the first story of David?
Goliath.
What happened to Goliath? Goliath was a giant, 9 feet tall. Goliath used to come out every day and tell the Jews, once and for all, send one of your guys, make a fight. Whoever wins, the other one becomes their slaves, they're subdued to them. If the Jews win, the Israelites win, the Palestinians will pay you taxes. We win, you'll be our slaves. Saul was the king, he was completely lost. Lost! And nobody knew what to do. One day David comes to see how his brothers are doing, very similar to Joseph. He comes to see how his brothers is doing, come to kind of bringing them lunch. And he says, well, what is the king saying? I said, I'm ready to go. Well, you get away from here. Finally, he made it to the king. They put on him the uniform. And David, what David said? David says, I cannot take it that Goliath is speaking against God. You know what Goliath said? A few years before that was a war. You know, there was a temple in Israel before the temples in Jerusalem. Was a temple in Israel before they made it to Jerusalem. Strange thing, we're not going to the details, but the Jewish people, the last thing they conquered in Israel was the city of Jerusalem. 400 years after they lived in the country. Before that, for this 400 years before, for 369 years, the temple was standing in a place, it's called Shiloh. It's in the occupied territories. They found the place, they found the ruins of the temple. How this temple was destroyed was a war between the Philistines and the Jews. At that time, the high priest was Eli, and he had two sons, Hophni and Pinchas. And Hophni, they went to war. Eli was already an old man. Hophni and Pinchas went to war, and they were losing the war. That they decided to do something extraordinary. To do what? To take out the Ark of the Covenant from the temple and bring it to the battlefield. Because they believed, because in the time of Joshua, the Ark is to go in front of them. The whole Indiana Jones movie is based on their story. They felt they were going to win the war. Guess what? They came because they did it against the will of God. Hophni and Pinchas were killed, and the Ark of the Covenant was confiscated by the Philistines. Who confiscated it? Goliath. Yet Goliath used to come out and say, come fight with me. I was, so to speak, stronger than God. I confiscated the Ark of the Covenant. I killed Hophni and Pinchas. David couldn't handle this. David stood up and he says, I'm going to... David didn't know if he's going to win or not. David was ready to die to stop the embarrassment of the Jewish people, to stand up for the honor of God and the Jewish people. This is the type of people we need to survive exile. That's why, we are not called Israelites. What are you called today? Jews, named after Judah. You know why? Because we are sitting around the table here, all of us, because our great grandfathers were ready to die for the Jewish people, for Judaism. If not, he wouldn't be around. Anybody who was not ready to give everything away for his Judaism is gone. Because to survive as a Jew in exile, you have to say, Azoi und nicht anders. This is the way it's going to be. You have to be stubborn. You have to be a stiff-necked nation, people. You have to decide that this is the way it's going to be. And you can give me 50 explanations why it doesn't make sense, and it's a different world, in a different environment. All these excuses throw out the window. Only this way you survive. That's why we are called Jews, Judah, because the first Judah was a man of self-sacrifice. And that's why Judah became the leader, and that's why David came from Judah, and Moshiach will come from Judah. Because to bring Moshiach, you need a guy, you need Mesiras Nefesh, you need self-sacrifice. That's why Jacob chose Judah over Joseph, because Judah showed something that nobody else showed. This kind of self-sacrifice that nobody else showed.